Hello, thanks for joining us. I am Alvin, and this is...
I am Mike.
Okay, and welcome to Are You Sure You Want to Know? Disruptive questions about faith, culture, and everything in between. Today we have a humdinger. We have a banger.
Yeah, what's today's burning question?
It is pro-life, pro-choice.
Okay.
This is a huge thing, right? So the problem, I think, initially when we say that, we are saying, there's a hard line in the sand that one side says you're either choosing life or not. Right. And the other side was like, well, why can't I choose? And so that, I think, is where it begins. It's already muddy.
Well, let's make it muddier because the current discussion isn't really pro-life, pro-choice. It's women's choice, which has really stepped into the lead, like my body, my choice.
Okay. So
it's not even about abortion of the baby or survival of the baby. It's about the bigger, broader topic that's going on. I don't know where we're going to go with this, but I'm just saying the broader discussion has been about the right of a woman over her own body.
Okay. So why would so what now we're going towards like a feminist thing?
I don't know if it's feminine. I mean, I think the discussion has shifted from the sanctity of a baby's life to a woman's choice.
Oh, it is degraded even further, Mike. What they have said now is that it's not even a child. It's not even a life.
Yeah, right.
And so now I have gotten to a point where I can no longer argue that I have to value the sanctity of life or I have to choose to terminate a life. Now I've degraded that life down to nothing.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to ask a question like, well, if I kill a pregnant woman, I get double homicide.
Right.
So when does that creature become a human? And that's because legally defined that as a human. But then we start getting into a gray area when the woman decides that she wants to terminate the pregnancy because she's not charged with murder, but she's definitively ending a life. I seen this wild shirt one time. It said that a acorn is not a tree, and I don't remember. There was a couple of other things. This is not of that, this is not of that, and then it had a clump of cells. This is not a baby. And I think, well, a couple of things have happened already, right? So a woman carries these gametes. We carry our gametes. When those two things meet, then that's where the magic happens. So one of those cannot create life without the other, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, things begin. It's a process that will begin and will come to term if you allow it to. So to interrupt that with any form of post-coital contraceptive or further along in the term of terminating the pregnancy. Have they changed the language with that? I mean, do they call it when it's not called? Is it called an abortion? Is it still called that, or have they changed the language to soften it a bit?
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to that question. In my mind, I still refer to it that way.
I do too.
So, but I don't know. I mean, maybe there's correct medical terminology that applies to this, but I don't know what that is. We could look it up.
Well, I guess it really doesn't matter. But the reason why I'm saying that is because we have a tendency as human beings to start redefining things to reduce the kind of impact on our psyche.
Definitely.
We don't talk about the gruesome details of war. A young soldier who's deployed and has to, is inundated, or excuse me, not inundated, but indoctrinated to think that this is what he should or should not be doing. And so he goes, and we don't know the gritty details or what goes on in that soldier's mind. So we kind of redefine it. Oh, he's a patriot. He's and I'm that person. So I felt that I believed that to this day. I still am proud of what I've accomplished, but I would say that it wasn't what I was told. It softened the blow. And so any kind of like horrible thing that we as human beings choose to do or, explain away in our brains, we've created this softening language. And so I was wondering if we, just like saying it's no longer a baby, it's a clump of cells.
Right.
And I think that is probably where we could take it and ask God and look in the Bible and say, well, how does God define that? I mean, we're not even, if we really want to get technical and dismiss all of the current cultural standards sexual immorality or, and whatever, every single gray area from top to bottom, you would ask yourself, are we supposed to be doing this for the purpose of, pleasure, or are we creating life? Or can those two things meet?
Yeah. I think one of the struggles, so if you boil this down to probably the heart of, or at least one of the hearts of the argument, is defining when life begins, kind of where you started. At what point, and I think everyone needs to actually answer that question, because it's easy to say. I mean, so I've heard everything from, until they're born, and until they're self-sufficient, which would be when they're a couple of years old. I mean, I don't know. I feel
wow. So we're saying we can redefine an actual infant to
well,
something
I just think when someone presents that idea until they're self-supporting, they haven't thought through the idea that.
So 18.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 18-year-olds, so I don't know if that's even the age. So I've had 4 of those in my house. But I just think that if someone says that, like when they're self-supporting, I mean, a child that's born healthy and well is not self-supporting for years to come, and if they didn't have parental help, and so that one fails. But I think each person needs to have a legitimate answer to the question, when does life begin? And for me, life begins, at inception, when a baby's conceived and it's life.
I agree. And the argument I think some of the individuals make is that if they can't say, well, the woman has a choice to do what with her body as she wants, and all right, so it does the other party who helped with this process, do they have a say?
Right. Because
now, it's I know it's your body, but you also chose to share that with me, and we created something together. And now what is my say in this? And then apparently that can't be.
Yeah, legally I don't believe they have a say. I believe it is up to the woman to make the decision.
Now, if there's always the area of complications for pregnancy. If we save the woman's life by terminating the pregnancy, that is a valid. So is that valid? So that's another moral conundrum. Is it valid to terminate a life, to save a life?
Right. So there you're dealing with the sanctity of life in two scenarios,
Sure.
and so that's a little tricky. I was just about to look up some stats on some stuff, but the question for me about that specifically is what the percentage of that reality is. And I don't know. It's very low, though. It's not, in my opinion, anytime you're arguing to the general from a very specific,
a niche or a very
that's
low
not
percentage.
Right. And I think
it's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, and I think we should be able to make exceptions in legitimate cases of potential death to the mom.
So here's the thing. I want to explain something to you. There has never been a law in place pre-Roe v. Wade, post-Roe v. Wade, during Roe v. Wade. There's never been a law that prevented a woman from terminating a pregnancy if her life was threatened. There has never been and never will be a law. So that argument, I think, is a moot.
Yeah, because there's already a way out on that. Yeah, and so legitimate diagnosis of the mom's life being threatened, that's something to discuss. But the percentage of that happening with modern, and it's getting smaller and smaller.
Sure.
Because the way we're advancing our medical technology, our medical knowledge, and the practices we use, the awareness that we have, all of that is creating making the niche even smaller.
So the numbers that we were looking up earlier it fluctuated from about 22 to 38%, depending on the year, of life-threatening complications. And it didn't even ever does it say that these are definitive. It says could be, possibly, can be. It's a bunch of possiblies using that language. It's never a definitive number. And that was almost impossible to find.
Yeah, I was looking for that too. And the numbers, it gives a lot of numbers. It gets a little overwhelming, a little convoluted. But they're in the single digits, those kind of cases where where death has occurred as a result of giving birth. That's a small percentage. And so once again, it's a niche, and I don't think I would start the argument in a different place. The discussion I would have would be around sanctity of life.
How do we define life, and how do we believe in the sanctity of life. You're absolutely right.
And this is not just an infant. This gets back to the heart of the question. The mom is legitimately, her life is threatened as a result of being pregnant, and some complications, giving birth could cause death for her. That's two sanctity of life questions you have to figure out how to address that with, but it's beyond just birth. I used to, I was pro life at birth in my thinking, but for someone who's committed heinous crimes, I was death penalty, which is not pro-life, right. Which is inconsistent, because if life is sacred, an unborn being should be viable and beautiful and should be fought for. And just because someone has made errors in their judgment does not make their life worth less. They still are human.
That is such a tough thing.
But for me, that was revolutionary to realize you can't be, in my mind, the way my brain works, my theology is, you can't be one at one end. Now you've made mistakes. Now your life's not valuable. You've done nothing. Your life's not valuable. You have to be consistent in thinking.
Wow.
If life is sacred, it's sacred, and so that's, so you could. Here's the other thing. You can go down this whole other trail of thought about the sanctity of life and what are we doing? If we say I'm pro-life, what am I doing about that? I think the term that I've heard that's been used is when Roe v. Wade was overturned, you saw a lot of people doing a pharisaical victory lap, like celebrating. We won. What's the win in that? I get that there are lives that can be saved of infants that are unborn, but if we're really, I think one of the things that's a fair criticism is that people have a stance about pro-life and do nothing to support.
What can a person do?
Well, I adopted 2 kids.
Sure, and that's delightful.
Yeah,
and so that's absolutely delightful. In fact, I forgot all about that. But I look at it. Yes, an individual can do that. But I also say this: I don't think that a lot of this needs to be politicized, and I think it should remain with the family. So if I say, I believe that life is sacred, and I will never destroy a child's life, and that's how I will live, but I'm not going to force another person to make that decision. Now, that's a really weird thing coming from a conservative, because I think that all life is sacred. I believe that babies, every single one of them, should have an opportunity, even those ones that are ultra sad, like Tay-Sachs disease, where they're guaranteed to die at 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah,
no one has ever lived past that time. So you get to a point where you fall in love with the child, and their body will eventually break down, and they are going to die. And we know that they have this before birth. And so the decision to carry that to term is a very, very tough one.
Yeah.
And so but I still say we should give that an opportunity, because 8 years with that child is better than 0 years with that child. I could know this child.
And likely a very difficult parental role to be in, like providing support for them as the inevitable happens. I think, though, we need to, do we get to design or determine what quality or what life is meant to be? Yeah. I mean, we're who draws that line? Because every single human being alive probably has a little bit of a different variation on defining that, right? And so
if we determine any genetic predisposition, then we can choose at that point.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
It is. It really is.
It's a and I think it's a dangerous place when you're subjectively defining or subjectively applying principles. I mean, you think something completely opposite from me. What do we do with that? That becomes more challenging. And I hear what you're saying about not wanting to politicize it. I don't know that politicize is the word I'd use, but I believe strongly in the sanctity of life, even in case, and there are hard cases like rape or things like that. Those are difficult. But I've heard stories of women who have been raped, and they've grown up to really have tremendous impact in the world. And
I was going to say that very same thing. I've met rape babies, and they're like, I am here. I enjoy my life because my mom chose to value me instead of the person who did it.
That's right. And my kids are adopted. I don't know all the circumstances, but like I just think if that was the case for one of them, would I not want them to be in my
right?
No, I mean I have a chance to love them and know them and be part of their life and their development, and I just think we need to really. I would get back to the question: how do you define sanctity of life, and how do you apply it?
Let's just air the dirty laundry. I think a lot of this has to do with wanting to be promiscuous and not have any consequences.
I think so.
I think if you say I am pro-choice, it's my choice, my body. Okay, choose to use contraception. Yeah. Choose to wait. Right. Choose different methods of preventing pregnancies.
Yeah.
Choose that first. Why do you have to destroy a life so that you can continue on with the lifestyle that you've chosen?
And the obvious argument about my body, my choice is, but what choice did the unborn baby have? So anytime my choice trumps someone's ability to have choice, that's an inconsistent thought.
Amen.
So your choice, but you're removing the choice of the baby. That's not okay.
You got to think about this though, Mike, is that a lot of those individuals who say it's my body, my choice are also the same individuals championing forced vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. You could go down a lot of different roads on this one. Probably, I'm probably scared of the one you're about to go down. So.
I'm just saying, like these are the very same people who say it's mandated. You have to do this, and like what about my body, my choice?
Right? Yeah. No. So the inconsistency of that is very glaring in my mind too.
Is it okay? Okay, your body, your choice. Is it okay if a woman just when she's pregnant she could just use methamphetamine? Is that okay? Like she can just stay high all the time? Is that cool or what?
There's no such thing as we live in a global community, and your choices aren't. Every choice you make has implications. We just talked about this a few weeks ago. Your choices have implications that impact you and all of those around you. Some are more significant than others, but you don't live in isolation. We don't live the monk's lifestyle where we decide on our own and affect nobody.
Everything that we do has an impact on something else. It does have ripples in the pond for sure.
So, but yeah, again, for me, it's an issue about a God-created life.
Right. And
I don't believe, we should take it into our own hands, oftentimes because of convenience, maybe because of medical circumstances. I don't know. The challenging fringe topics make the discussion more dicey and a little bit difficult. But again, if you're arguing from the fringe to the whole, I think that's a pretty hard way to make good choices.
It's still once again, it cannot be part of the argument about saving the life because there's not a single law on the books, nor have they ever been, that prevents you from saving your own life.
Yeah.
I mean, they will give you the choice. Do you want to, sacrifice your life for this baby, or do you want to? They'll say, do you want to take the risk? There's a possibility we could save you, but here's the thing. So you have plenty of time.
Yeah. Well, and think about this. Here's another way to think of this, and I always like to put this back on every person to think it through for themselves. I don't believe this is true of you, so I'm going to say this. Let me just assume that you were the result of a rape.
Okay.
Are you glad you're here on this earth?
Praise God. That
Don't you wish you would have had the choice?
Yeah.
Right? And so when you remove that choice, you're making decisions on behalf of other people. You're taking away the rights. It's the vaccine thing you're talking about again, but it's just... If you think about that for yourself, if every person asks himself, am I glad I'm here? And if someone would have decided because of the way I got here, I was not valid to maintain my life. Well, I think most people would be like, I'm pretty glad I'm here. And I think even in the cases of, rape or different things like that, I think people still are glad.
We need to just go back to being, definitive with our language. This is what this is. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not. No, it's this. This is what it is. You're destroying a life. I mean, by the end of the day, somebody's dying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which direction we go with this. Something is going to die today.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I've ever in a million years be comfortable with.
Yeah.
But once again, me as an individual should not define the behaviors or actions of the whole, right? That's the reason why there is a process, right? So It's not a true democracy, so it's not the majority is going to take over. Like, so we don't have this giant group of, you know, conservative Christians that tell Billy Graham's moral majority. You remember that? It's not that.
I wasn't Billy Graham. That was it Jerry Falwell?
Jerry Falwell. Okay, moral majority. So that doesn't exist. There really isn't. There is a hodgepodge. There's a mixed bag. There's a melange of people.
Especially now. I think there may used to have been a moral majority.
Well, I would look at it like this. If this country truly had a democracy, a real life democracy, a lot of these fringe groups would be really upset.
Yeah.
Because they would not exist.
Yeah.
I mean, because if I, you know, belong to one of these groups, I'm not saying that your life is not valid. I'm not saying that your feelings are not, you know, valuable, and I'm not saying that you don't deserve respect and dignity and love, and I'm not saying any of that. I'm simply saying that if we had a democracy, you would not exist.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you would, but I mean, your ideas wouldn't have any place to stand. So we have a process that, you know, we say, all right, is this the best for the country? Is this the best for the people? And a lot of things are considered. Nothing is ever just done. You know what? Today I'm just going to say, yeah, it's cool to kill babies. It doesn't work like that.
No.
There's a huge process, a lot of thought that goes into this, a lot of red tape.
Let me say this too. With all of that's going on, I would come back to something I've already said. I'm just repeating myself on a lot of this. But if you have a stance, if you're pro-life, then you should be, rather than protesting things, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't protest. I'm saying, though, your behaviors should be helping to create a space where a mother who is pregnant and is trying to make this decision, you can come alongside of making that decision easier or be more helpful. Don't just chant or accuse. Be active in your lifestyle. That's maybe serve at a place where for single moms, or, you know, it's a hard. Those are hard decisions. Wherever you stand on this, that's a very, very difficult decision for people to make. Period. Someone who decides that they want to end and terminate a pregnancy. That's not an easy thing. There's emotional and chemical reaction.
Well, no, that's what I was trying to argue with before. It's not, because they have changed the language. I have lessened the impact. This one actress maybe she was an artist or something. She said, I've had so many abortions I lost count. She just like throws it out there. She's like, I'm not going to have a baby. I'm just going to do what I want.
And you think that her body is not impacted by those I mean, she can say whatever.
I mean, what I don't know the math behind that. I'm simply saying that, like, she has changed the language in her head to where she has been able to do this over and over and over again and have zero.
Yeah, or to present a front that says this is, you know, I mean, I don't know, but I'm only going to speak from my own standpoint. I believe life is sacred, and I believe that we need to be making behavioral decisions and life decisions that are supporting making, you know, if like adoption is one of the things we did, or help, you know, we fostered kids. There are things that you can do that it's a difficult choice, I believe, for people, even if they say it's not. I don't believe it's not easy. And so I'm going to encourage people, if you're pro-choice or pro-life, stand in the gap of how are you being a problem solver, not a creator, not an accuser, but helping bring love and grace and all that kind of stuff into relationships.
There's a lot of resources that people can take advantage of. There's a ton of them, especially now in this kind of environment, this cultural environment. There's tons of resources, and you could be a part of that. If you feel that you need to stand on your convictions on whether or not you want to support a life, or you support the right of someone else destroying that, then do everything you can with action, not just speak, not just words. Be a person who makes a difference with your behavior, not just vitriol. Yeah,
let me just say that, vitriol doesn't really do anything for anyone. And let me just say this. So there are organizations also. You don't have to save the world on your own. My wife and I are, we go to Pregnancy Resource Center here in Salt Lake. They have a gala every year, and we donate money to that so that they have a free counseling that's offered for moms who are in the trying to decide, do they want to keep their child or not. They have clothing, they have training for them. And so we believe strongly enough in the sanctity of life that we're going to give our money. Even if I can't be the person that's training, I can actually help support their choices to keep the baby and make good choices and be provided for. Because that's one of that can be a fear. If I can't provide, that's really hard. What am I supposed to do? I'm a young person and I don't have resource. And so for us, there are organizations you can come alongside. You don't have to do it on your own.
Right.
So
I just want to end with, if we get back to a biblical worldview and we come together to wash away this, moral subjectivity, and we all have a single agreement, we can simply say that in Genesis, it said that God created man this is but in his image. When we destroy a life, we're taking God into our hands and destroying that.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. When you make a decision, just remember that God is a central part of our lives. And when we trust in him and believe in him, then decisions become a lot easier in situations like that. Because this is really hairy. There are so many different nuances and so many different sides of the aisle that it's impossible to make a definitive statement about that unless we all have the same understanding that God created us. We are here to love everyone else just as he loved us.